this scene. This scene right here is where it all went wrong. Alright, depending on who you ask. By the end of Game of Thrones, it was already well established that Jon Snow was the prince who was promised. If you stopped watching Game of Thrones in season 4, you probably still think that Stannis Baratheon is the prince who was promised. But this recent development with the House of the Dragon TV show has put doubt in the eyes of viewers and critics alike. Many have started to question the legitimacy of Jon Snow's claim to be Azor Ahai. And with season 3 being around the corner, I think it's time we put this debate to rest once and for all. Is Jon Snow really the prince who was promised? Son of Rhaegar Targaryen and true heir to the throne? Or is he just a
bastard of Winterfell?
A hero reborn in the darkest hour, a sword of fire to drive back the cold, a sacrifice that will shape the fate of the world. The prophecy of Azor Ahai comes from the followers of Rhaegar, the Lord of Light. It speaks of a warrior who stood against the darkness, wielding a burning sword called Lightbringer. To create the sword, Azor Ahai had to sacrifice his beloved wife, Nissa, by plunging the blade into her heart, infusing it with her soul. This act was seen as both tragic and necessary for victory. The prophecy states that when the world is once again consumed by darkness, Azor Ahai will be reborn, emerging from smoke and salt, to wield Lightbringer once more. House Targaryen also speaks of the prince who was promised, and these two terms are used interchangeably to mean the same thing. But who fulfills this destiny?
In the ancient books it's written that a warrior will draw a burning sword from the fire, and that sword shall be Lightbringer. Stannis Baratheon, warrior of light. Your sword awaits you.
There are 3 worthy candidates and at least one we've probably never thought of. Stannis Baratheon, Jon Snow, and Daenerys Targaryen are all possible considerations for Azor Ahai. Stick to the end to find out who the 4th mysterious character is. Let us know in the comments who you think it is. Candidate 1. Stannis Baratheon. In season 2 of Game of Thrones, the prophecy is mentioned for the first time. Melisandre, a high priestess for the Lord of Light who is actually a key factor in this prophecy, refers to Stannis Baratheon as the prince who was promised. To Melisandre, there was never any doubt. Stannis Baratheon was Azor Ahai reborn. He wielded a flaming sword which she named Lightbringer, and he had the blood of kings in his veins. But there was a problem. His sword was no true Lightbringer. It did not burn him. It had not been tampered with sacrifice. In the end, Stannis fell, his supposed destiny unfulfilled. But does that mean the prophecy was wrong, or was he simply not the one?
Will you stay here at Castle Black?
I will do as Jon Snow commands.
You serve Jon Snow now?
He's the prince that was promised.
Forgive me, my lady, I'd thought that was Stannis.
I don't imagine Azor Ahai will be someone who uses dark magic to assassinate his own brother. Someone will stand there and watch his own daughter burn alive just because a priestess told her that was the way to fulfill his destiny. Princess Shireen's death is one of the most heartbreaking scenes in the whole show. I still can't watch it without looking away. It also does not help that this scene specifically says that the prince who was promised will come from Aegon Targaryen's bloodline, or at least have the blood of old Valyria.
From my blood come the prince that was promised, and his will be the song of ice and fire.
Candidate 2. Daenerys Targaryen. Born amid smoke and salt, Daenerys Targaryen's story is filled with imagery that mirrors Azor Ahai's prophecy. She walks into the flames and emerges unburnt, bringing dragons back into the world after centuries of extinction. Some believe her dragons are Lightbringer, fire made flesh. She is a leader, a liberator, but her journey is also marked by fire and blood. If Lightbringer is a weapon tempered by sacrifice, then Daenerys herself is the sword. And does her death prove that destiny cannot be trusted? Imagine Azor Ahai being someone who, after doing their best to save humanity, turns around and burns those people to ash just because their queen did not submit. I know it was deeper than that, but still, it was horrifying. Let me come clean. I did not care for the people of King's Landing, but the burning of that city was one of the most horrific scenes in the entire show, especially seeing it from Jon and Arya's point of view, two of my favorite characters. And for Dany to speak about conquering more lands after she burnt an entire city, that was pure outrage. She didn't even have any remorse for the dead children. So not the prince who was promised. Candidate 3, Jon Snow. If Azor Ahai was to be reborn, wouldn't he come from the union of ice and fire? Jon Snow's true parentage, Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark, connects him to both bloodlines. He has been surrounded by smoke and salt from the burning of Castle Black to the salty tears shed over his many deaths and resurrections. The words spoken by Rhaenyra in this scene only prove that Jon is the prince who was promised. He is literally a song of ice and fire. Jon is also one of the few characters literally brought back from the dead, a rebirth fitting for a prophesied hero. And let's not forget, he's the one who ultimately unites mankind against the White Walkers. In fact, he has been doing that since he encountered the first White Walker in Castle Black. His whole story has been about killing the Night King and defeating the army of the dead, which makes him the most likely candidate for Azor Ahai.
You don't know me well, my lord, but do you think I'm a liar or a madman?
No, I don't think you're either of those things.
The army of the dead is real. The White Walkers are real. The Night King is real. I've seen them.
But does he truly fulfill the prophecy? Or was he just another piece in the larger puzzle? Candidate 4. The mysterious character. Another likely candidate who most of us probably haven't considered is Beric Dondarrion. Remember, he wielded a flaming sword that could be Lightbringer, has been resurrected numerous times which could represent born amid smoke and salt, and his sacrifice to save Arya Stark is what allowed them to defeat the Night King. His parentage is not well explored in the show. Who knows, he might have Targaryen blood somewhere in his veins.
Here we all are, at the edge of the world, at the same moment, heading in the same direction for the same reason.
Our reasons aren't your reasons.
There's a greater purpose at work, and we serve it together, whether we know it or not.
He's right. We're all on the same side. How can we be?
We're all breathing.
Prophecies are tricky things. They guide belief, but they rarely play out the way people expect. Perhaps Azor Ahai was never meant to be a single person. Perhaps the real savior of the world was the collective effort of many. Jon Snow's leadership, Daenerys' dragons, Arya's final strike. Maybe the prophecy was never about Azor Ahai, but rather what humanity could do when it united against the darkness. It could also be that the terrible writing in later seasons have led to the misinterpretation of the prophecy. Reading the books will give you deeper comprehension. However, if Azor Ahai was indeed a single person, then he would probably be Jon Snow. But tell me, who do you believe was the true prince that was promised? Let me know in the comments below.
And you believe this prophecy refers to me?
Prophecies are dangerous things. I believe you have a role to play. As does another. The King in the North, Jon Snow.
Like the video if you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, or join the army of the dead. But seriously, subscribe.